So in this lesson, we're going to talk about architectural materials and just materiality in general and why it's so important to me and to all of the projects that I do. Here, I have many different trays. We have stone, mirror, tile, metal, woods, and paint and plasters. And at every project, this is how I start. So for example, this is a new project and we're starting a vibe tray. I call these vibe trays. A vibe tray is my lingo on how I organize a project. Each project has its own tray per room. This could be the living room. Every material, whether it's the stone or the wood being used on the hardwood floor or the metal, goes in this tray. And I like to keep it loose because the projects are always evolving. The client could say, you know what, I went to my friend's house and I saw this great wood on their kitchen island. And so we want to keep it evolving and flexible. We're going to build out a vibe tray that is for a residential project, and it's a bathroom. It's a his and hers bathroom, and it's quite large, and the client wants something warm. This is a viola, which has a lot of movement. I started gathering this beautiful red stone, and then here we have a beautiful peach color. And we can actually scan these stones, and we can put them in Photoshop, and we can immediately see which one feels the most successful. The ceiling, we know, is going to be plaster and a portion of the wall. I feel that this red one is going to seem quite heavy in the space. And I think this stone is going to have quite a bit of movement, but I think it'll be beautiful. Now that we've gotten to the point where we've gathered some of the stones, we're going to look at what the cabinetry and any millwork that's in the room. This is a blackened oak sample that has a really refined texture that could look really nice as the millwork. This oak sample that has been bleached, which I actually really like because it has a nice dialogue with the plaster. It'll feel lighter in the room. This dark is going to be a statement. Then looking at that, what is the metal color? And things to consider, what are the plumbing fixtures that we have this burnished brass, really delicate, simple, modern silhouette. So what will the cabinet handles be? Maybe we want to coordinate the color of the metal, but I'm open because I love mixing metals. So looking at, does this color work with this oak? Or perhaps do we want it a little more quiet with the handles, which is more simple in the space? Mixing metals is amazing. I mean, look, jewelry, like you just mix metal. I love it, and I think it adds interest. It's a natural material, and they all actually tell a really wonderful story. If we're gonna select this stone, this viola stone, and we're gonna put it on the walls, I might wanna do a different stone on the floor. And maybe it's gonna be something richer, or maybe it's gonna be a stone that's a little lighter. Now this, I don't think looks good because it is really white and it has a little too much green. So I think I would go back and I would say, you know what? I like these two, feel really good to me. This is a little too loud and maybe this is a little too quiet. So at that point, I'm gonna take these away and commit to this story. And even if this is on the floor and this is on the wall, I might want to put this on the countertop. And it just gives a little more dimension to your space. All materials are dynamic and have their own hand. Stone is one of my favorites. Every piece of stone is unique. It's Mother Nature, and Mother Nature is the best designer. If I use stone in any room in the house, it's going to be a different veining, it's going to be a different texture, a different color. And so you can kind of say it's like limited edition because it's all unique. And I love the movement that a stone offers. And sometimes it can be quiet and sometimes it can be very active and have a lot of energy. And it depends on what you're designing. This green stone is quiet. So if you look at this in a large scale installed, it would actually be very quiet. It might seem a little more active in person, but it's actually quite pared down and it's veining. And another thing I do, when you look at a sample of material, it's important to actually lay it down on the floor or put it against the wall and stand back, because it could seem super busy here, but once you lay it down and you walk away, you're gonna see that it could have more energy or less energy. When we use stone, and this is a sample, and I show this to my client, it could take months to find this exact stone because it's Mother Nature. I will now go to stone yards, and I'm going to frequent stone yards and find something that is really reminiscent of the sample. And sometimes it can be very easy, and sometimes it can be very challenging. This is the master bathroom, and there is a bar in the master bedroom. If I've done stone in the bathroom, maybe I want to do something different. So I think I'd love to use this pink mirror. And the millwork of the mirror, maybe it's a little, if I'm using this in the bathroom with the plaster, maybe I want something that's a little sexier in the bar, or I'm going to make coffee in the morning, or have water. This combination is very nice. And looking at maybe what metal. And so looking at this blackened brass material. And now that works very synergistically with what I'm doing in the master bedroom, but in the bar, it has its own voice, but it still works together as a story. The hand of a material is really important to consider. For example, this stone is very smooth. If you look at this metal sample, there is a hand to it. There's some pitting. This wood sample has a fine ribbed, and it's really beautiful and just catches the light. This cypress piece that's been burnt, this wood, has a very visual texture, but it also, the hand of it's so nice. So now I'm going to invite some team members who are actually working on this project. And we have Ryder, the talented Ryder, who's going to actually take us through the model. And we have Sophie, that's a materials expert. And we have Alex, who is an incredible architect and concept genius.
So we have the 3D model here of the master bathroom, and we've been working on switching out some of the stone materials. But would you kind of want to select a few new pieces and see what you're thinking?
And are these all the slabs that are from the bundle that was at the stone yard?
Mm-hmm. So this is the Calcutta viola that you saw at the stone yard.
See, and when you see this tiny piece of stone, and you actually take the slab that was photographed at the stone yard, and now you see it, it doesn't look as rich. It doesn't look as dark. Actually, I like it better. So some things happen unexpectedly. I think that looks amazing.
Would you want to see the pink stone that the client was interested in?
Yeah, so this is the peach colored, which is much more quiet and less active. I mean, that looks really nice too.
And we paired that with the white flake oak as well for the vanities.
So this one. And then do you have, if we made this, the ebony, the cabinetry, can we see what that looks like? That looks a little too harsh in contrast. So let's go back to the flake oak.
Yeah, the white flake oak is definitely a lot lighter than the ebonized.
Which one do you prefer?
I was just thinking the doors, dark doors in the back, then pinks feels too pale compared with the doors.
I think the Viola Calcutta, because this actually does read a little more feminine. And there is a husband and wife who are sharing this bathroom. And can we see ebony on the cabinetry? See, that looks great. And now there's less activity, and the doors and the millwork have the same voice. And then you have the plaster that's on the walls and the ceiling.
Yeah, it goes well with the black and steel doors too.
I like the doors being dark the way they are and how it pulls in the color of the wood. I think that's a nice tie-in.
Here, we can see it
Yeah,
from
I
the top
agree.
view as well, and that shows you a little bit more of the stone that's going all the way to the back stairs.
And then we'll look at experimenting with perhaps putting this just on the countertops. In design, looking at hierarchy, which we always love to consider. When we design a space, there needs to be a series of statements. I always reference hierarchy. For example, the most important feature in this bathroom is the marble. The second most important feature is the wood. What is the millwork? What are the door colors? Because if you have so many features that are wanting to be the star, you will have a cat fight. This is the bathroom that we're gonna move forward with. And I think we should consider a metal sink.
Yeah, we can definitely drop one in there.
I think it would be nice because currently we have a white porcelain sink, which is still really beautiful, but looking at a burnished brass or a nickel, I think could be a little more interesting. We'll study that at the next meeting.
I think that's looking great.
Yeah, amazing. Yay!
Oh, it looks
Great.
awesome.
Interior design is about problem solving. So you just saw how we took the materials and we put them in the 3D model and we saw what worked and what didn't. And how important it is to always go back to the real thing. What is in your vibe tray? And referencing it, pulling it out, showing it to the client, touching and feeling it. Don't be fearful of taking something that seems like a risk to you. This stone, it could make a really big statement. It did not work in this scenario, but it could very well have worked. So take risks. And when experimenting with the materials in your vibe tray, you can so easily have a tile. This is a concrete tile. It actually works really well with this solid color tile. Mixed materials, don't feel like you have to use the same material in one room. You could have 10 materials, you could have 10 tiles in one room, and beautiful things will happen. Some affordable materials that you can consider when designing your space. There's plaster, there's wall covering, there's paint, and paint comes in many different finishes. You can get something that's high gloss, something that's matte. So different finishes, different mediums. If you use a wall covering, it could be something with a print, or it could be something that's very tactile and textured. So there are definitely so many alternatives that are more cost effective.